Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 10th and final class on stewarding your personal finances here at South Houston Bible Institute. My name is Greg Pare. I've been the organizer, instructor, along with some of my other fellow instructors. We've had a great time and hopefully covered a little bit of the gamut of personal finances. But as always, tonight we're going to start with the birds and bees of personal finances with adult children. That's not the as always part. The as always part is let's start with any questions, some wins, testimonies. Would love to hear from you guys. So either takeaways from last week or something along the 10 weeks that you're now beginning to have a little success with.
Okay, this is Carla. I have a success here. I usually shop at HEB, just did HEB for a while. And so this time I chose to go to Aldi's. And usually my grocery bill every 2 weeks is around 340, 360. Well, guess what? It was $140 at Aldi's.
No
Just
way.
you. Yes,
That's like
yes.
that's like $200.
Yes, yes. So I got my fruits, I got my vegetables, I got my frozen vegetables, I got some canned things, and I did get one or two meats or whatever. I didn't really need a lot of meats, but even when I don't buy meat at HEB, just the things alone that I buy at HEB are much more than at Aldi. So I will be visiting Aldi's more often. So that's my
You
testimony.
Now remind me, were you one of you guys was going to start with an envelope for cash for Target or for groceries? Was that you, Carla, or was that someone else with
That
a?
was someone else that was
Okay,
saving theirs for Target. Yes.
okay. So what did you say? Every 3 weeks or so, or every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks, my grocery bill is right at 340, 360.
Okay,
Yes.
so you were budgeting about 350 a month for groceries, right?
No,
Every two
no,
weeks.
no. About 600 a month for groceries. Every two
Oh,
weeks is
sorry. What did I
yeah,
say? Did I say I meant to say
three.
350 twice is
Right,
$700.
right.
So you were
Exactly.
spending about 700.
Yeah.
So you did 140 at Aldi's.
Yes.
So 140 every 2 weeks would be 280. Here's what I would suggest because like you said, you may not have gotten all the meat or whatever. What if you would put what if we say your new grocery budget per month is say 400, right? So
Yes.
so instead of or even 500. So instead of 350 every 2 weeks, what if you gave yourself 250 or even 200 every 2 weeks? So on payday, go pull that cash out,
Okay.
and by changing your shopping habits and by using cash, you will have just given yourself roughly a $200 to $300 a month raise.
Yes. And
That is
I love it. I love it because keep in mind, that's not my toiletries. I buy those every 6 to 8 months. I just stock
right.
up. So I don't have to buy those often. So that's why I know that the grocery bill. So I will be saving. Thank you
But
so
even
much.
I know 200 a month, you guys, that's $2,400.
Yeah.
It is a huge amount. I mean, you talk about getting something in your emergency fund or savings or whatever's next on your, oh man, I haven't been able to quite give my 10% and I felt guilty about that. Whatever your situation is, and I'm not asking anyone to share, but whatever your next financial goal is, I've never been able to put back money for Christmas. Well, guess what? Carla just found 200 a month extra to put back for Christmas, car repair, whatever her next, what if she, last week was investing? What if now she was able and bold enough to say, you know what, I'm going to go to a financial investor or whatever, and I'm going to start saving 200 extra a month towards retirement or into my mutual fund account or whatever. I mean, that's huge, and you couple that with all the stuff we've been talking about, insurance deductibles, shop your cell phone plan, do your grocery stores, those types of things. I mean, it's newfound money. That's a fun one. Way to go. Who else? Any other wins or takeaways or aha moments or experiences?
This is Diana. I've had a few. My check did come in from the missing money. And so that is my emergency fund right there. So
Yay!
it
You've
was, I'm
established
telling
a
you,
$1,000 emergency fund.
that's right. That's a done deal.
Way to
And
go. Way to go.
and in shopping in my pantry, that really cut my grocery bill down. So I was able to save right at about $80.
Oh,
Yeah. And I was able to buy my cleaning and my toiletries. And so that was a win. I have been sharing this with my kids and my daughter. And so now my kids, they are working for their parents and for me for minimum wage so they can earn money and start investing.
nice. Beautiful.
Yeah. And let's see what else has happened. Oh, I was able to pay off 2 of my bills,
2 of your credit cards or your debts, you mean?
2 of my credit cards, able to pay them off.
That-
That's right. And next month I will pay off another one.
Okay, so I'm not to be, well, I am going to be nosy, and again, we're family.
Mhm.
What were the minimum payments on the 2 that you paid off? What were the monthly minimum payments that you had to be making on a monthly basis?
$29 on one and 45 on the other.
Okay, so for easy math, I'm gonna say 45 and 30.
Okay.
That's $75
Mm-hmm.
plus the $80 you could probably save at the grocery store, like you said. So you have just found an extra $150 a month.
Right.
Now,
Exactly.
that 150, that newfound money, I want you to go like crazy on your next debt. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what's that minimum payment?
29.
Another 29.
Mm-hmm.
So once that one's paid off next month, you now have 180 extra dollars a month.
Right.
Now, do
Right.
you have another debt after that, or car, or what's next on your debt snowball?
My car is paid off. My car has been paid off.
Okay, so whatever your next financial goal is on the
Let's see.
whether or not it's hey, I need to start saving for a new car, I need to put more into retirement, or whatever, or I haven't been able to start saving for Christmas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, use that 180 in your budget wisely, and you might be able to say, well, now I can afford to put $50 away extra for Christmas, or nope, it's going to go take the whole 180. I'm going to start putting it into a mutual fund, or whatever kind of, wherever you are on your next goal. If some things were tight, loosen up a little bit and say, now I can afford an extra $5 this, or I haven't been really planning for gifts and Mother's Day and Father's Day and kids' birthdays and grandkids. I'm going to put $10 a month in there, but use that 180 and spread it around and use it wisely. That is awesome.
Right. Well, I had said in 5 months I will have I have 3 left to pay. One I will pay off next month. Then I will have 2 left to pay. And I said in 5 months I would have one paid off, and then I will have that one last big one.
Okay.
And so when you were talking about the mutual funds last week, I thought, well, maybe I'll just do the snowball effect on the one that I'm going to pay off in 5 months, and just take that money and invest it in a mutual fund. So
Right.
let it
So,
work for me.
right. So the 180 that you've got freed up this month, go ahead and add that to the $29. So
Mm-hmm.
next month you'll be paying $209 a month on the big one.
Right.
So freed up money, go like crazy, and once that's paid off, then we're going to start mutual funds.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And how much is that? What's the minimum on the big one?
Minimum. $90.
All right, so you have 180, so you'll have 209 plus 90. So by getting out of debt, you will have $300 a month freed up.
Free. That's right.
For your future.
Right.
That is
not so bad, huh?
That is awesome. And guess what? Guess what? I hope you don't get a flat tire or have a dead car battery. But with your $1,000 emergency fund, okay, well, if you have to dip into that, then go back to paying the minimum on those until
Right.
you're back up to your $1,000.
Yeah. Well, the
Okay.
good thing is my tires are covered. So if anything
Well,
happens,
you
they're
know what I
replaced
meant.
now.
I mean,
Yeah,
whatever. If
exactly.
whenever life kicks you in the teeth, whether or not it's a little medical bill or this, that, or the other, just say, oh, okay, I don't have to
Mhm.
panic. I've got $1,000. I'm going to use my emergency fund. Oh, I need to build it back up to 1,000 because this emergency was $350. Just
Mhm.
hit pause on your debt snowball, go back to paying the minimum until you put that money back into the emergency fund. And then again, once you're completely out of debt and you're putting 300 a month into mutual funds, again, if you ever have an emergency, then we're going to say, oh, well, wait a minute, we're going to pause the mutual funds and go back to filling up the emergency fund. That is
Right.
well
Yeah.
done. Look at that. Everybody's cheering you on that. So
Well, I've got one more thing. When I
sure.
was out yesterday, I checked the mailbox and there was a $50 check in my mail from my orthodontics office. And
Mailbox money.
yeah, and
It,
then
it,
maybe in a couple of months when I check with the consignment store, I may have more money coming in there.
Isn't it amazing how, like, when we really start stewarding our money, that God just drops us little bonuses here and there?
Exactly. Exactly. It's been a blessing.
Well done. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. And even more importantly, thank you for sharing
You're
with
welcome.
your kids.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Anybody else? All righty. Tonight, having the talk, the birds and bees of personal finances with adult children. What in the world does that mean? First of all, you guys, I think we did, found money, claimittexas.org. Make sure, as Diana probably has, make sure you share this with both your parents as well as your adult kids. And again, my found money was some state of Illinois savings account for $36.58. I've yet to receive the check like Diana, but I did fill out the paperwork and hopefully it's on the way. And so, when we're talking about, what we're going to be talking about today, and when we're talking about, well, how do you have the talk with your kids or with your adult kids or your adult parents or whatever? We're not necessarily talking estate planning. We're not talking funeral planning, and we're not talking in accounting or investing planning with our loved ones. There are other professionals for all that. Again, like this whole course has been, I hope you've found this is common sense kind of stuff. What we are going to talk about is communication planning and organizational planning and detailed planning. That's what we're talking about tonight when it comes to having the talk. And so there's really two perspectives from tonight's material. When we say adult kids and adult parents, so some of us fall right into both. One perspective is, oh, I'm a kid, I'm 50 or 60 years old, and I've got elderly parents. Okay, that's great. You'll find some tidbits here. How do you talk to your elderly parents about their stuff? And what kind of responsibilities are you going to have when they're gone? Secondly, you may be parents. You may be 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, and you may have adult kids. And what happens if you croak tomorrow? Are they prepared to handle all of your paperwork? And not only necessarily from a can they handle it standpoint, but what have you communicated to them about your estate? And when we say the word estate, you don't have to have a gazillion dollars. That's not what I'm talking about. In Diana's case, for example, do her kids know exactly the names, phone numbers, and addresses of those 3 credit cards that she owes money to? I would bet the answer is no. But we're going to give you some tools tonight to say, how do we communicate this stuff, to our kids? And I started this simply, from my parents' Christmas about 8 or 10 years ago. My dad was getting elderly, and he was like, I want to invite you into my financial world. And, I was fortunate because take a look at this. Only about 16% of us have inventoried accounts, shared paperwork, and passwords with trusted children or advisors. If we have no children, that's fine. Do we have a trusted friend or advisor who knows where all your junk is? And so, again, two perspectives. You might be saying, hey, help is here, and this guy has like been stranded on this island. This guy's out in the boat saying, oh my gosh, finally, I'm stranded in the boat. I found some land. And so, based on where you are in your family and your age, you may be looking at it from both perspectives. So again, hopefully some good, honest communication. What tonight is, if you do go and start something with your kids or a talk with your parents, you don't need to be the barking chihuahua on the left. No. What Greg said, we need to do this, and sit down, and we're going to, where's your, I don't think anyone wants to hear that. What perspective are you looking at? What's somebody put in the chat what they see here? What do you guys see here? Speaking of two perspectives. Or you can say it out loud if it's easier to turn your mic on than it is to chat. So what are we looking at there?
Is it a vase?
Diana sees a black vase. Annette, all right, Miss Smarty Pants, she sees both. Carla says a dark glass in the light. Annette says it is two faces. Look at the two faces. Here is the nose, white face. They're facing each other. There's the nose, the lips, and the chin. And there's one over on this side. There's the eyes, the eyebrow, the nose, the lips, the chin. Does everybody see the faces now?
No.
Okay, I don't know if I can mark this up. Here's the nose. This nose is looking to the right. It's a white face right here. It's a profile. Here's the profile.
I see it.
Okay. And there's another one. So it's kind of like two faces looking at each other. Now you see it, right? So, two faces. What's your perspective? Are you an adult who needs to share some stuff with your kids, or are you kids who kind of like your parents are aging and you know nothing about their stuff and you don't want to be left a mess? So, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about tonight. I've used it a million times. If your why is strong enough, you'll figure out how. My dad was a very caring and loving person. He wanted to make sure I knew about all of his junk so he wouldn't leave me a mess. And this is his rationale. This is his reasoning.
It's not kids' business to take care of. Pretty about the financial problems and the debt thing. When I'm gone, and besides, I think it's very important to have a very close relationship with your kids, and that's how we are with our kids. It's not.
So that's Dad. He passed about 5 years ago. And so, one trip, I live about 1,000 miles away, one trip, this is he and I running around in the car. We were on the way to the credit union because he was like, okay, Dad, this is all fine and good. Yeah, here's my mutual funds. Well, yeah, more than mutual funds. Where's my car titles? Oh, they're right here in the filing cabinet. Great, show me. Guess what? No car titles. Oh, I don't know where they are. I must have put them in the safety deposit box. Great. Where do you keep your key? Oh, I keep my key right here in the filing cabinet under B for bank. It's taped to the inside of the bank folder. Cool. Guess what? Here we are taking a field trip to the bank safety deposit box. we had some other questions, and I snapped this picture. I stepped out because to me that just could be any one of us. And I don't know, we talked about perspectives of pictures and all that stuff. To me, that looks like a little elderly old man who maybe doesn't have a clue what's going on, and that is asking the banker for help. That's just a lonely looking picture to me. But do you have those kinds of conversations with your banker? Do you have those kinds of conversations with your kids? So what we were doing there exactly was she was compiling a list for me of all of his account numbers and passwords. Of course, we had to give permission and all that stuff, but that was our field trip to the bank. And so the information that I sent you a PDF, and I'll go over that with you at the end of this to show how to log that stuff. So this brings up an interesting factoid here. 43% of us, or 43% of this Harris Poll survey, have automatically assumed the responsibility of an aging family's members' finances. Okay, you pay your mom and dad's cable bill, or you do this, or you do that, or you do whatever it is that you do. But take a look at this. So it's a big disconnect, in my opinion. First of all, so I'm going to back up one slide, if I can. 43% have assumed the responsibility of an aging family's finances. However, 69% of parents expect their kids to help out, yet 36% of the kids have no idea if there's going to be a handoff, what the handoff is going to look like, whether or not I'm supposed to do anything with regards to my parents' finances. Is it by force? Is it by health? We had no talks, and we've all heard this story. We've had friends who have lost loved ones, and they're spending 2 and 3 and 4 weeks, and they probably even say it with a sad face. I'm digging through all my parents' stuff. I'm trying to sort out my parents' estate. So my encouragement is, let's put the tools in place, which I'm going to provide for you, to at least, and so I'm left with my mother. So she's 86, and I go and see her about once a quarter to St. Louis. And I was there whenever it was, 2 weeks ago. And we sat down, we updated all of her mutual fund accounts. Mom, any other thing? Yeah, my health insurance went up $20. I noted it. So I know exactly what her monthly budget is, what her bills are, what are auto paid, what aren't. She still takes care of all that, but I've got a record. So if/when she dies, it's not going to be that huge of a deal as far as a paperwork standpoint. Now, of course, it'll be sad losing my mother. I'm not talking about the remorseful of losing a parent. I'm talking about the paperwork shouldn't turn into a nightmare. So where do we start? Again, do something. I don't care what you start with. I don't care what the conversation sounds like. It may be a 5-minute chat. Hey, kids, I want to bring you into my financial world. I'm not trying to be remorseful, but I'd like for you to know where my junk is. Might be a little bit harder for those of us who have to approach our aging parents. So if we tell our kids, which I have none, so I'm off that hook, but for those of you with kids, what does that sound like? Does it sound like after Thanksgiving dinner or whatever? Hey, or is it a separate, want to have a little family meeting? And again, throw me under the bus, throw yourself under the bus. I've not done a good job of communicating to you guys, my beloved family, where my junk is. So I just want to have a little family meeting and tell you where I keep my safety deposit box. I want to give you my account names and passwords. I want to talk to you about my bank accounts. I want to talk to you about my debt, and I want to talk to you about my bills. And you may say it's none of my kids' business. Well, if you got your finances cleaned up, how proud of a moment is that for Diana to say, first thing I want you to know is I have an emergency fund, and they may look at her like she's crazy. What? You have an emergency fund? What's an emergency fund? Great teachable moment. My emergency fund, I keep that in bank X, and I keep that balance always at $1,000, or it's in the sock drawer, or it's in the underwear drawer, or it's wherever it is. I've got $1,000 emergency fund. Fun story 3 weeks ago when I went to my mom's house. She was like, "Hey, we got to go to the bank." I'm like, "Okay, fine, let's go to the bank." She said, she's 86. I can't get down on my hands and knees. Would you get on my hands and knees and look underneath the dresser? And the dresser it doesn't have this much room between the carpet. It's, one of those decorative foo-foo things. And there was like this much, and I shined a flashlight back there. I pulled out 3 envelopes with $100 bills, and there was $38,000 under there. And, she was like, "Yeah, I've just been saving a little here and there." So I was like, "Okay." She's like, "I got to thinking, if there's ever a house fire or this, that, or the other, it's like so I even learned something last week, and we took that straight to the bank, and it's going straight to mutual funds. So start with the where are's. Hopefully, where is stuff? Here's where this stuff is kept. Lead to the what ifs. Hey, what if this happens? Here's how I want you to handle this. What if I die? I want you to know that my lawyer is this person. Avoid it's too late. The avoid it's too late is, hey, what would happen if I become incapacitated and do you have a power of attorney? Do you have medical power attorneys? Who's going to make those decisions? Well, guess what? My mother's a little bit like this. I have to force my hand with her. My dad was very forthcoming. My mom is, "We'll worry about it later." That's her infamous, saying. Well, and later is going to be when she dies, and it's going to be too late. So start simple. Hey, where's my stuff? How would you want me to handle this, Diana, if you died tomorrow as your kid? Yeah, okay. And just avoid too late. I don't think it's what's the word? When you're trying to put somebody not remorseful. I don't know what the word leaves me. But oh my gosh, you're talking about, I'm talking about if I die, I'm talking about if you die. Well, again, we're not trying to be, whatever that word is. We're just trying to be factual here, matter of fact. Hey, just want to discuss some things with you guys.
Morbid.
What's that?
Is it morbid?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm not trying to be morbid here, but newsflash, I am going to die. I want you guys to know where my stuff is. This doesn't count. This does not count. Hey, kids, it's all in there. Again, case in point. So we're going to try to get some things organized. Here's where you need to start with. Start with your wills. Do you have a will? If not, shame on you. You can go online and create a will for free. We paid $29 for some will kit, took it to an attorney. Well, not the way I would have done it, but good enough. Well, at least you have one, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't want the government deciding anything for my estate. You don't want the government or some judge, figuring out anything for your estate. Nor do you want your kids arguing over your, 3 pieces of silverware. So, and be as specific as you want, or if you don't want in there. Bank accounts. Neat little thing that my parents did with their bank accounts. We did it with my mom's when my dad passed. As soon as dad passed, we changed mom's bank accounts and her names, of course. And we did what is called a POD. So on a bank account, you could go to your bank and say, "I would like a payable upon death." Payable on death. POD. Write that down. Payable on death. The beauty about that is, so my mom's name is Mary Ann Pare. Her account says Mary Ann Pare, POD, Greg Pare, 50%, and Jeff Pare, 50%. Our socials are listed. What that means is we do not have to wait for the judge to probate any will. We don't have to wait for legal. We don't have to wait for anything. We simply take a death certificate into the bank and say, give us mom's money. You know, we are now legally allowed to take care of that money. And so you can put payable on death, and it also avoids any probate fees or any big time loyal legal fees. So payable on death, you can put that on bank accounts, you can put that on your mutual fund accounts, you can put that on your stock accounts. Not 100% sure on retirement accounts, but I believe so. Any questions on that? Does anybody have a POD or PODs on any of their bank accounts?
I have them on all of mine.
Awesome. I mean, and
And I teach my family to do it as well, because it's very important.
Who's the beneficiary, Carla? Do you have it POD to one kid or one husband or two kids, or is it split?
I don't have any kids. I have it divided out to different people.
Okay, awesome. Great. So guess what? She's prepared. Those different people, all they have to do is take a death certificate in, and if it's, you know, if it says 20% of the balance or whatever, then Carla will, whoever she's got me as 20% POD, Greg Pare 20%. You know, I get Carla's death certificate, take it into the bank. I'm one of the PODs. Can I withdraw my funds, please?
So the POD is, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The POD is different than just listing a beneficiary.
Well, yes, a beneficiary on the bank account is, you still have to wait for from what I understand, I'm not a lawyer, but you have to wait for the will to probate and for the lawyer to sign off on everything.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, if it's an insurance policy and the beneficiary is listed, now we're not talking about insurance policies. Obviously, the beneficiary is the beneficiary. In my mom's case, when dad died, we just simply had to send in a death certificate, and they sent mom the checks, and she was a beneficiary on that. So
yeah, I have a bank account that has, I know they asked me for to list beneficiaries. It's just like a savings account, I guess you call it, compound interest savings account. And they did ask for a beneficiary.
they may just be calling it something different. You might ask them, hey, is that the same as a payable on death? So it very well may be. All of the terminology I've had every time I've gone to the bank, I've heard them throw around the word POD. And I think, well, as a matter of fact, you know, I don't know if they've asked who do you want as the beneficiaries of the POD, or if they just said who do you want as the PODs. So we may be talking the same thing, and that it may just be a matter of bank jargon and how one bank calls it another.
Yeah, it's good to know, because I never heard that term. So it's good to know. So I will double check and make sure I'm covering that basis as well. Sorry, Diana.
And also to ask your bank to make sure, because like Greg said, sometimes it will say you can put them as a beneficiary or either a POD, depends on which bank you're with. Because I know with my banks, they're different. And I just had them to make sure they explain it to me that if I pass, that these people could walk in with their ID and, you know, all of the required identification and get the money and walk out. And that's what I wanted. And they said, yes, this form would do that. And then another bank said this form would do that. So just ask your bank to make it clear to you that that is what you're wanting to do, is that if you pass, whoever your beneficiaries or your PODs are, they can walk in with the proper identification. They will unlock that account, give you everything in it, and you walk out with no questions asked.
That's great. Will do. Thank you so much.
Preach it, guys. That's awesome. Well done. So that's important about all your bank accounts and your savings account. You know, and speaking of beneficiaries, you know, if you've been remarried, or if you want to change beneficiaries or anything like that, are those up to date? If not, what's the title of the slide or the previous slide? Do something. You know, I'm not going to take I'm too busy as an excuse. This is important stuff we're talking about. get off TV, get off Facebook, and do this stuff. It's important.
And
Papers.
can I say this too? If you don't put beneficiaries on your accounts anywhere, your money is going to end up in the lost and found. What that is that you had us to go look for is going to end up there. And then your kids or your somebody family going to see it there, but they can't get it. You see, it's just locked in there. And I know plenty of people, monies that I've looked up and their children can't get it. They're going to have to go through probate court to get it because their father, their mother didn't do things right. I'm talking about thousands of dollars.
Preach it. That's why we're here tonight. Not going to happen to any of us or our kids. Papers. Where are the important papers? Car titles, insurance policies. Do your kids know where you keep your junk? Whether or not it's a safety deposit box, or if it's a little metal filing cabinet, or if it's under the dresser with $38,000 in $100 bills. You know, what my wife and I do is we have an accordion file that's kept inside of a fireproof box, and it's in our closet. Now, most of our important papers, birth certificates, marriage certificates, yes, we spend $36 a year, and it's in a safety deposit box in our bank. And so, but the question is, who knows where that safety deposit box key is and the account number and all that? Well, my brother and her sister, since we don't have kids, knows, you know, the bank and the where the keys are, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just and if you don't have stuff gathered, you know, just gather it. It can be a shoebox. It doesn't have to be fancy. But what kind of legacy do you want to leave for your kids, families, friends? You know, and we probably won't ask the question, what kind of legacy are your parents leaving for you? Those of us with elderly parents. Well, in my mom's case, I'd like to say I'm pretty proud because she let me into her financial world, and I know where all her junk is. I don't pry, you know, I'm not, you know, counting any eggs before. Don't count your eggs. Don't count your chickens. I'm not counting any chickens before the eggs, you know, hatch, because we got a long way to go, and more than likely retirement home and assisted living and all that fun rot stuff. You know, but at least, you know, we both, myself and my wife, we've got a good handle on what our mothers have and where. Online, this is a big one. You know, how many of you have dead friends on Facebook that memories keep popping up? Guess what? If you don't know the account number or the password of a Facebook account or some other online accounts, you can't get in there. I don't care what sob story you tell. You're not going to be able to access online stuff in most instances. Again, without, you know, unless you're a listed user, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So do you have a list of passwords? Or at least, you know, and again, you don't have to have the password shared with your kids, or your parents don't have to share their passwords. But hey, by the way, I've got a list of passwords, son and daughter. It's in the safety deposit box for all my junk, and you know where the key is. And when I die, go get all those passwords and delete my accounts or get into my accounts or whatever you need to do. What do you want to be buried in? What songs do you want? Who's going to preach? Who are your pallbearers? Don't leave that junk on your family. Have a conversation. Better yet, write it down in the booklet that I provided for you. And I'll go over that here in just a minute. And so, wills, you know, we're talking about wills. Is it updated? Where is it? Have you reviewed it? And do you understand it? Stop me if you guys have anything, because I'm going to plug along next to bank accounts.
I have a question.
On what? Back on
back on wills. If I want to update my will, would I have to get it notarized again? The update notarized? The amendment?
I'm not a lawyer.
Yes.
So if you want to
Yes.
amend it, I would just say, write the amendment. This you know, and from what I understand, the last dated thingamajig, so whatever's the most recent takes precedent over anything else. So if you want to, you know, oh, my previous will doesn't mention my $1,000 emergency fund, I want that strictly to go to church, and that's out of bank account X, and I want that updated, and it's 2 sentences. And yes, to answer your question, that does need to be notified, and probably, again, I'm not a lawyer, probably stapled. I don't know if you're going to call it amendment or whatever, but again, for a $29 will kit or whatever, I'm probably not the person to answer that. If I wanted to update it, I'd spend the $29 and update it and get it right, print, notarize, stick it back in the safety deposit box.
Okay. Okay. I just wonder, because I mean, I have it on mine, it's already ready, but you know, like the last things that are coming up, I want to add that into it. So I didn't know if I needed to get the amendment up notarized.
Yes.
We'll check and see. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Notarized, I'm fairly certain on notarized.
Okay.
Okay, so $1 million question, do your kids know where it is? You don't have to answer that. But again, part of the conversations that we are talking about. Have you reviewed it lately, and do you understand? Bank accounts. Again, my parents had about 4 or 5 different banks and different bank accounts. They're of that old school, I don't trust one bank, I'm going to spread it around, whatever. Okay, I'm running around. So we went to, again, I have all what transactions come out of the bank accounts. And again, share what you want and with your adult kids, or have a list and ask your parents. Like, for example, I've got a list of what is auto debited out of my mother's bank account. It's her monthly water bill, sewer bill, trash bill, and her car insurance comes out automatically. I beg your pardon, no, it doesn't, because we went to see the insurance agent when I was home. But I've got a list of the transactions that come out once a month or quarterly, so that the moment she dies, guess what? Her life insurance policy doesn't have to start coming out. So I can immediately open that list. I'm listed as a person able to talk to the insurance companies, on her account. And I can say, by the way, my mom passed. Let's cancel this, that, whatever. Same thing with all the utilities and cable and all that stuff. When she moves into a nursing home, or if she dies in the house or whatever, I don't have to wait around and wonder and hum-haw and go hunt and peck for, to make this a big, long headache. It's more of I am a robot. Here is a list. I will go down the list. I will make the phone calls, based on what is on the list. It removes all the emotion, because I'm going to be torn up enough, even if it's 2 weeks after, a month after, 3 months after, I don't want to have to spend emotional energy on looking for junk. We talked about the payable on deaths, and we talked about maybe the importance of the safety deposit box with important papers, wherever you're going to keep stuff. And again, let your kids know where the key is, or ask your parents where they keep their key. And I would probably, ask them, or be bold enough. Again, without the key, no one can get in it, but you probably want to list them. When you have a safety deposit box, who can get in it is on that list. Well, guess what? I have the ability to get into my mother's safety deposit box because I'm listed under the safety deposit box. Not going to do any good if your parents die and all their stuff's in the safety deposit box and you're not on it and you don't know where to keep the key. That's a dead end. What kind of papers are we talking about? Birth certificates, social security cards, car titles, insurance policies, especially the insurance policies. I dealt with that where my dad was, when my dad died. Again, it was one folder, all of his insurance policies. All we did was pull out the insurance policies, mailed in a death certificate, each one. I knew exactly how much money to expect. And so it was easy. Losing dad wasn't. Again, again, I'm not trying to be morbid, and yes, I was remorseful and all that stuff, but tonight I'm just trying to be matter of factual. It was easy because it was all
Greg, on your list here, what about the deeds to the house?
Sure, absolutely. Yep. Matter of fact, I'm going to make a note to add that. Thanks. Most, yes. Okay, good. Yes, thanks. And again, this is again not making excuses. Not meant to be all inclusive, but just to give you guys an idea. But obviously, Carly, you've gone through this exercise, so this is awesome. So yes, absolutely. Any other important type papers that you guys deem important? Before they die, does the company still exist? When I was coaching, I had somebody bring in, they just lost their husband. That was tough enough. And she brings all of her junk in and lays it on my desk and says, here, and left. So she paid me to be the grunt and the gopher. And there was, it's too long ago, but I don't remember who did what to where to when, but this insurance company closed and this company picked up their policies and this company did this. Oh, and by the way, in calling company number 3, the husband failed to keep the insurance policy up to date, unbeknownst to the wife. So I got to break that news. Update your beneficiaries. Do you have dead people as beneficiaries on your insurance policies? Or do you have ex brother-in-laws or ex son and daughter-in-laws on there, or whatever the case may be? And cancel the insurance policies if appropriate. We didn't talk a whole lot about whole life insurance versus term life insurance. Does everybody, well, we're not going to go into that, but some insurance policies, if you cancel them right now, they will have some cash value. And that's kind of a little trick for getting out of debt. If you've got some whole life or some whole life insurance policies that are not term, and you're hurting for cash, you can call your whole life insurance policy and say, if I cancel this policy today, what's the cash value? Now, let's say you have $100,000 whole life insurance policy. They're going to sell it something like this. Oh, you're paying $100 a month. 20 of that buys $100,000 worth of life insurance. The other 80 we're going to invest for you. And we're going to grow it. And we're going to guarantee that when you're 65 years old, you can start pulling out $3 a month or whatever. Typically, whole life insurance policies grow at a rate of about 2 to 3%. If you were here at our investing class last week, we know that we can find 10 to 11% growth pretty easily. So whole life insurance, basically, you're investing $80 of it, and you're using 20 of that dollar to buy insurance. And so they're keeping the $80 and investing it on your behalf, but they typically pay a terrible rate of return, but they advertise it as whole life insurance, and it's a savings plan. Insurance is not savings. Savings is not insurance. Term life insurance, that same $100,000 of term life insurance, if you're paying $100 for whole life, you may pay $50 or $40 for term life. And let's say it's 20-year term, $100,000. What that means is you're paying $50 a month for every month. And when you die within, the 20 years, regardless, the cash value will be $100,000 towards your beneficiaries. Sometimes if you say, I'm going to go shop for term life insurance because I'm paying $100 for whole life, and the investment part hasn't really gone up, I'm going to go put in place some same term life insurance for a whole lot less per month. And then I'm going to go to the whole life and say, what's the cash value? Oh, well, you've been paying for 10 years and there's $4,186 in there. Great. Cancel that policy, please, and send me my money. And all of a sudden you have $4,000 to put into investments or pay off debt or buy a car or whatever your next financial goal is. Some instances you get to where you are, I guess, what you might call self-insured. So what if a person has a no debt? What if a person has a paid for house? And based on what we showed on the calculator last week, what if we have $2 million in the bank? Do you really need a $100,000 life insurance policy that costing you $100 a month? Cancel it. You are what would become, self-insured at that point. And to take that $100 and invest it right back into your mutual funds. So there does come a time or a point when you don't need life insurance. Again, if it sleeps better at night, knowing, but you got $3 million in the bank, $2 million in the bank. You die, I think your kids are going to be okay. And it takes a while to get to that point.
And may I say this in reference to that with the insurance, life insurance?
Sure.
I don't have any kids, so I was carrying my husband for life insurance. And so he said, Carla, why are you carrying life insurance for me? And because with companies now, you have to carry, if you carry someone, you have to carry yourself. So what I did, we sit down and we talked about it, and we looked at how much I was paying out. He said, because we already got it set up that either one of us pass, if we both pass, we have it set up in IRA to just have it pulled from there to do our burials and everything. So we didn't have anybody to really leave a life insurance policy for, but all of our IRAs and funds and all of that, that's been accounted for, for beneficiaries pay upon death or whatever. So I did just this year. I canceled that when I signed up for my insurance at work in May. I canceled that. And so that saved me right at $40 a month.
Yep.
Because
So
we already
again,
had a plan in place, for burial and the cost of all of that. Our burial plots are already paid for. We did that when we first got married. So a lot of things we just already have in place. And we thought about, okay, this is wasting money.
yep.
Why do I need a life insurance policy?
And guess what? And your life insurance agent was screaming bloody murder at you. Are you sure you want to do that? Are you da? Remember, they're commissioned salespeople, so you guys do what's best for you. And she said a couple of key words there. My husband and I talked about it. Oh, heavens to Betsy! We actually communicated about finances and got on the same page and agreed. And again, when you have all your other things in place. Yeah, that's, in my mind, that's a smart move. Not all of us may be in that situation, but at some point in time, we may be. While we're doing all this stuff, it's a bunch of little things that add up to huge successes. Banks, emails, social. Where are those accounts? What are the passwords? User ID and passwords, especially your online banking stuff. If there's a list of usernames and passwords and you can jump on there the day mom or dad dies, or not the day, you get where I'm going with this, but within 4, 5, 6 days, you can stop all auto transactions and all that stuff and just get it done. Cell phone plan, who's their carrier, all that stuff, right? This is fun. The call list. So, when mom dies, I don't know all of her friends. I moved away from St. Louis 35 years ago. And every time I go, she's like, well, you remember Mr. So-and-so. I'm like, Mom, I didn't know Mr. So-and-so. Oh, that's right. You've been gone for 35 years. Well, he's our new pastor, or he's our new whatever, or whatever. So these are the people that, here's our aging family members. They've changed addresses or names or phone numbers, clothing and songs, pallbearers, and what is, as Carla mentioned, what's the situation with the cemetery and the funeral home? Again, is it documented? Do you know where all that stuff is for your parents? Or if your parents, do your kids know this stuff right here? Or are you going to leave them a big, pile of dirt to go through and figure it out? And so what are some tools that we're using? Organizational forms, power of attorneys, and schedule some sort of an update. Again, I go to see mom once a quarter, And so we don't go update it every time. Once a year, we sit down and we know what it is. Hey, can we pull out the legacy journal, the legacy book or whatever. And so hopefully you guys all had a chance. So this is what I left you guys. You guys have this PDF. And so this is kind of where I was kind of coming from. For my loved ones, stewardship, the position and duties of a steward, a person who acts as a surrogate of another or others, especially by managing property, financial affairs in the state, the responsible overseeing and protection of something considered worth caring for. Keeping important documents and financial records organized and readily available is one of the best gifts you can give those you love. This easy to follow questionnaire will create a meaningful resource and a gift for your entire family. I have had people like you guys seeing this stuff for the first time go through and fill it out, wrap it in a shirt box, put a bow on it for Christmas. It's not the entire Christmas present by any stretch of the form, but you talk about a caring gift if presented properly with a good relationship. Guys, I've not done a good job. Here is one of the most precious gifts that I feel I can give you. And I just want to go over this. Yeah, that might be a little schmaltzy and a little mushy. I'm a mushy kind of guy. Why this project? So again, here you go. Several years ago, my parents invited me into the financial world. Sure, mom and dad taught me good money management, like how to save and invest. They were big on staying out of debt. So as a kid, I observed what I was supposed to do with money. As an adult in my 50s, I still didn't know their picture. Sure, I could ask questions and give the answers, but I didn't know the whole picture until we had the talk. While visiting home for Christmas, my parents deemed it necessary that I was invited into their financial world. Where did they have their money? What bank? All the stuff we're talking about tonight. So I'm trying to be organized. I opened a spreadsheet, started a list. And so guess what? I'm sharing that same thing with you. So not a spreadsheet, sorry, but this is something I emailed all you guys. You can at least print this out, and whether or not you use it for you or for your parents. So if you sit down with your parents, get this stuff down. I want to just take some notes. Where do they work? What's their position? What's their vehicle, boat, and RV information? What are they currently driving? Is it paid off? Who's the loan with? Where's the title? Name of the card number, the 800 telephone number on the back. The banking information, the banking name, the account number, the telephone number of the banker. Where do you keep your safety deposit box keys and who has copies? What are the list of hiding places for cash around the house? Yes, I knew about the dresser. It wasn't a total surprise. It was just a surprise that there was 38K under there instead of, I probably figured 10 or so. We talked about the payable on death. What are their investments? Oh, this is A.G. Edwards, account number, telephone number of the broker. Where is their auto insurance? What's the policy number? Life insurance, account number. Death benefit, what's the cash value? Who's the benefit? Life insurance, so they may have a couple of policies. Be sure and update your beneficiary income, job income. Oh, okay, mom makes this much, she gets paid on this day of the month. Is it a check or auto deposited to an account number? Oh, okay, mom gets Social Security or disability, retirement from one mutual fund, retirement from the company, retirement from the railroad, pension, investments. Oh, mom pulls out $500 a month. We talked about the withdrawal calculator last time, how mom can pull out $500 a month and okay. So I know exactly what day of the month it comes out and where it's how much it is, and that it's auto deposited into this bank account number. Does my mom have rental income property? No. Oil royalties? No. A trust? No. Gifts? No. What other expenses? Now, here is some reoccurring expenses. This is not a budget. We're not talking groceries, fuel, and other consumables, but simply recurring hard costs. Mortgage or rent, how often do they pay it? How do they pay it? What account number does it come out of? Home insurance, property taxes, renter's insurance, health insurance, Medicare, electricity, gas, water and garbage, cable or satellite, internet, home phone, cell phone, home alarm, the vehicles, hopefully those are all zeros, any credit card payments, any other payments. How about some online usernames and passwords? Facebook or ABC Bank of America, my username is this and this. Funeral arrangements. Is it prepaid? Is it prearranged? Is it none of the above? Where would you like to be buried? Or what's the address of the funeral home? Because guess what? When you call the list, they're going to want to know. What's the phone number? What's the name of the cemetery? What's the name of the church? Address of the church? Who do you want to officiate your funeral service? Let's pick our pallbearers. And guess what? Make an educated guess. Any particular clothing you would like to be buried in? Any particular songs at your service? Any other special instructions? Cremate me, please. Donate my kidneys to the Kidney Foundation. Who are we supposed to call when you die? Newspaper, whatever. Make a list. Family members. I'm sure a lot of people have the tree, the calling tree. I know a lot of churches do. But even here, if Diana dies, her kids may not know what the easy, quick access phone number is and who's my contact at church. Well, the church secretary is Thelma. She's been there forever. Well, your kids don't know that. They may know you. Hey, Thelma, I'm Greg. I'm Diana's son. I just want to let you know she passed. So also at the end of this, I put a couple of interesting articles. So this is, they're several years old, but there you go. When my in-laws became too incapacitated to handle their own affairs, my wife and I took over. A year and a half later, we're still trying to figure it all out. I don't want this to be us. So read the little articles. Here's where some of those stats came from. It's just a mismatch on what's expected versus what's actually happened. And there's, I think, one other article about time to have the talk with aging parents. Also about long-term care. Do you know wishes? That should be added to this form as well. All of you have received this in email. If you didn't, let me know. But that's kind of sort of what we're talking about. And so we're going to hear from Dad one more time just to sum up why we're doing what we're doing.
Well, I don't know how much time I have left here. So I find it important to get my finances straight and put all my ducks in a row.
So that's Dad, and he did, and so now it's Mom and I. So that was a few weeks ago when I went. So instead of Dad and I in the office, it's Mom and I. We're updating CDs and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I am going to share. Let me share one other document with me. I'm just going to give you a quick snip of this. I hope I can find it. So in addition to that, I was telling you that, again, I'm kind of a little nerd spreadsheet. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be, all inclusive. You guys do it, whatever works for you. But this is what works for me and Mom. And so guess what? There's all of their personal information, driver's license number. There's my brother's stuff. Mom has one MasterCard credit card, doesn't have a debit card. So their house is valued at about $95,000. They own it outright. State Farm insurance is $659 a year. The property taxes are $1,800 a year. What is the income? Dad's Social Security to the credit union, auto, mom's social, auto to the bank, dad's pension, IRA and mutual fund, auto withdraw. It goes into checking number 45410. United Food and Chemical Workers. She receives a check at home. She gets a VIBA refund of $400 every 3 months, a quarterly check from MetLife Quarterly. And so again, so these are a little bit of her assets. Here's a joint savings account, a CD. She's got this. Greg and Jeff are the PODs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's her credit card numbers. There's her investment numbers, and there you go. So that's just a little bit about. I'm going to have Kurt cut that off so that doesn't make YouTube. But anyway, whatever floats your boat is for is organizational skills. So was this helpful tonight? Does anybody have any questions on this?
Very helpful. Thank you. My spreadsheet is a little different. And then do you have your spreadsheet with a password ID to it?
I don't. I probably should, but I don't.
Yes.
I've got my whole computer set as a password. So probably should have the ID to probably, something like that. That's a good idea.
Greg, it was very helpful for me. There's only a couple of things I need to do, and everything else I pretty much have in order. So thank you so much.
Yeah, same here. I started on some of it about 3 years ago. Definitely planned the services and all of that for my children and gave them all the information that I need. But I see you went into a lot more detail, so I can update mine as well. One other thing I think that's helpful. I know it's not about money, but I also started to declutter my home so that my children wouldn't even have to deal with that. Like getting rid of whatnots all around the house that didn't really serve a purpose anymore, clothing and stuff like that. I kind of just started condensing a lot of things just so they wouldn't have to deal with that. Like you were saying, they're going to be spent emotionally already, so why put them through that? So I started to do some of that stuff as well, and made some money for my emergency fund.
And that's all part of, God teaches us to be good stewards. I think he wants us to be stewards of everything, our homes. When I give this talk live in front of an audience, I'm like, how are you stewarding your trash? Are you being a good steward of your trash? Are you emptying it on time? Are you being a good steward of keeping your car clean? Are you being a good steward of, just like what you said, of decluttering so your kids don't have to? I think stewardship, while we typically use it as a financial term, I think it, and what I tell people is, man, when you get your finances in order, it just frees up so many other spiritual pores to really be the person that God wants us to be, that God needs us to be, because Lord knows this world needs a lot of help, and he needs us as his army. And if we are bogged down with our own financial mess or our own house clutter or whatever, is ailing us, we can't be the best for God that we need to be. And so that was the whole premise of